Hi, Rebekah. How are you?
Well, John, I am in the middle of a broken heart. It's no fun. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is Rebekah Freedom. This is episode number 53 of Heard Not Seen, produced by John Beethan, who you just heard. Coming in, giving the comfort today. Today's topic, again, is one that we've all felt or feeling in this moment, broken-heartedness. So, I'm going to just be candid with you. I'm just going to lay it as out there as I can put it. Up to this point, up to today, I've relied on my intellect, my training, all sorts of things. Even of the course, the arc of the relationship, which again was a 3-month relationship, I was heavily relying on non-violent communication and just trying to be open and consistent with a person who started the relationship with me not wanting to be in a relationship. And, you know, I joke and say I was so compelling that the things I was asking for, initially I was like, well, and I'm no angel. Like at the beginning of the relationship, I took off to Washington, D.C. to meet up with an ex-boyfriend, but that was a weekend to knowing the person who ended this relationship. So again, probably I'd have to look back, but I would say at least 7 episodes back is there's plenty of information to track, this Titanic cruise. So
are you saying, given that we're at 53, maybe start at 45?
Yeah, start at 45 if you want to hear sort of the arc of the relationship. And so today has been the hardest day. Every day I've been able to talk to a friend or have some energy clearing or experience some synchronicity, some clearing outs. And I've processed this by using oracle cards. I have probably 6 decks, and I've had them all out simultaneously on the floor, just trying to extract some sort of message of meaning about this process. But it's making me speechless to think about. And I'll probably cry. It's making me speechless to think about one of the final conversations we had, and one of the final exchanges we had over email was I was in a place of being like, I want to fight for this. Like, I know that we have some things that we don't agree on, that there's some fundamental things that we don't agree on. And for a while, it was just my ex or partner or whatever saying, I just don't want a relationship. I promised myself that I wouldn't do that. I would just take the rest of the year and be single. I mean, maybe I would hook up because I need sex or keep it casual or whatever. But I promised myself not to get into a relationship where it's just chaos and then the person sees me as their life partner. So I want to say that you can't know what you didn't know until you know it. Like, a lot of us are hard on ourselves, looking back and being like, man, all the signs were there. But you didn't know this road that you were going down. It's not like you'd driven it. Even if you'd driven it pattern after pattern multiple times, it echoes your childhood. This is a brand new road. You don't know the potholes, the twists and the turns, where there's going to be a bridge, where the bridge is going to be out. You don't know. And I didn't know. And I want to say this in the framework of, I still very much love and care about this person. It's something, I think that is the most challenging part of a broken heart, is that you want to be able to trust what you feel. You want to be able to trust, to have an open heart and to say, this person had an impact on my life, and it's very recent. It's within the last week that I imposed the no contact kind of conversation, the stopping talking to each other or anything like that. And the reason I did that is because certainly we were in a place where we were out of sync. I was starting to sink into the relationship and start to feel like, okay, there's some discord here, but we'll figure it out. And I started thinking about like, maybe therapy would help, just because I'm biased as a therapist, and I was leaning on my understanding. And then the exchange devolved really quickly. Early in the day, I was like, oh, today's been such a great day. I'm motivated. I'm working on my business. I have coffee. I've made these contacts. Things are really great. And how are you doing? He's like, oh, all of this new stuff is happening. It's onboarding. It's amazing. I'm so excited. I was like, I'm so excited for you. And I was really in that place of like having a representative me be in the forefront and really saying like, okay, obviously we're not on the same page. Maybe we can just transition quickly to another page. But what I've been left with and what I've been tackling for the last week or so is he was like, listen, I wish other women would have said this to me when they left, instead of just throwing tantrums, calling me names, and then ghosting me. He said, I wish they would have just told me, hey, you're not the one. You're not the one I see my life with. I don't want that. And so he had some clarity over the course of a weekend of attending a wedding, given one of the speeches that was given, that, and I said this in my last podcast with fervor, you don't know your ass from your elbow, but in fact you do. So essentially, the bride was like, I could have loved many people, but I really knew in my bones that my husband, the man I'm marrying now, was the one for me and my life partner. And I just have this deep knowing. So I mentioned that last week of like, oh, screw a deep knowing. A deep knowing doesn't mean anything. It does. It does mean, it is relevant. It really is very valid that we have to like trust our intuition and go with our gut instincts to the degree that we can in that given moment. And in that given moment, he decided to write me and tell me, I just don't feel like you're my life partner. Like, I don't feel it in my bones. I don't have a deep knowing. But if I did have a deep knowing about it, I would do anything for that person. I would be romantic. I would show up for them. I would go through the good times and the bad times. And I'm going to cry. So maybe you can say something, John, because,
Well, silence is okay too.
And of course, there were follow-ups with like, you're such a great catch. You're so amazing. I love you so much.
See, if I may,
Yeah.
To me, that doesn't help. I mean, that mouth, that should not be opened and said that. To me, that's confusing.
And the moment that it was spoken over the phone, the first night it was spoken like, hey, listen, you're just not it. I was like, that hurts really bad, and I'm going to hang up now. And he was like, no, don't go, don't hang up. Just help me understand. And I was like, what else? I have been gracious, I feel, in this time of transition. I haven't yelled. I haven't called you names. I've sought to understood to the best of my ability, while also realizing that this thing started to blossom inside of me of like relationship, of actual personal deep relationship. And I know the irony is I'm a breakup counselor. I'm a breakup specialist. And there's lots of jokes I've made about this over the course of like, oh my God, I got broken up with. And then I got my book in the mail 2 days later, and haha, I had to read my own book. But it's not funny. At some point, it's just like that fighter in me just gets exhausted and just stops and goes like, it sucks so hard. And I just I just empathize with anybody that's in this place. That's just like, I still really love and care about this person. They're stuck somewhere between the future and the past. And both of them feel like a loss because you're not going to ever relive that time or be able to take back those moments where there was a rupture. You're not going to be able to necessarily go back and repair that in the way that you would if you were still in relationship with each other, if there's still that container of trust and commitment and togetherness. It's just you're left more or less to your own devices. And then I felt big time that I was with my family, and I kept having these flashes of like, oh my gosh, you would love this so much. This would be so great. This experience, like this happened today, and I wish I could share this with him. And certainly, at any given moment, I could pick up the phone. I could just say like, you know what, this is okay. But what I did instead was after this exchange, I just was like, listen, I'm still fighting for us, but the way that I need to do that is to not talk for 2 weeks. And then after those 2 weeks, I'll check back in and see if it makes sense, if therapy makes sense or whatever makes sense. From this standpoint, there's moments where I anchor in the date of that 2 weeks, and it has been an anchor. It has any moment that I felt I vacillated or wavered or was like, oh, I just want to reach out. Like last night, I was all dressed up and I was like coming home from the university club, and I was just like, it'd be so great to have him over right now. And I had to be like, no, you don't get to like cross that bridge. And everybody, and we all do this to each other. When you're the person outside looking in, you tell the person a couple different things. You'll find better. It's just a matter of time. You just have to go through the hurt. He left you. Why would you want to be with someone who doesn't want to be with you? Yeah, this is a real kicker. At least he was honest. Like points for honesty that he knows you're not it, and you're not going to be suited for every partner that's out there. And I'm like, I get that. But when it's really not your reality, like it was like, I think that's the time and space that colors things different too, because certainly there was a push-pull in the relationship. It wasn't ever a consistent ground of commitment. We didn't ever really ever arrive on that. We were able to go on like a road trip together and partner in that. And there was these little tiny pockets, these tiny moments of like a glimmer enough to, be the breadcrumbs that led you to the gingerbread house, I guess you could say. And I chose it. Like I kept choosing it. And it was very much push-pull. So in this moment, days after the breakup, it's very much push-pull. And I read today in my tarot card deck, because there's some really beautiful things in there, is that the mind is to be in service of the truth of the heart. The mind is to be in service of the truth of the heart. So what I would say about a broken heart is an open heart, and I've tried to keep it together. I've tried to keep it together and put on the brave face and be like, this one foot in front of the other, like I have the skills and the tools to do this, but this breakup brings you to your knees. It brings you to your knees. It's so humbling to love somebody in the gap and to be pushed back into finding your own worth and your self-esteem and to say like, I don't have that perspective that in 3 months' time I would know if somebody was my husband. I know we hear stories of that, but I was like, that's a lifelong commitment. I need more information. I need more time. So it's something that I certainly just keep circling back on. So to the point of healing, to the point of that, of being in this, I would say that anytime I've wanted to have a conversation with him, I've either journaled it or taken a video on my phone And then I watched the video back because, as John says, I'm not missing Joe. I'm missing the Joe in me. That the person I fell in love with was the parts of me he woke up. And he woke up a deep yearning for love and partnership that I had buried for a long time. And these just like springtime, these different places started to come to life again. You know, the exuberance of adventure and the sharing of stories and the waking up of possibility of true, the power of the pair, as Bishop Jake says, the power of the pair. You know, you get more done together than you do alone. You get more done together, but you have to be in partnership and in sync with each other. Either you're in sync or you sink, or that ship just freaking breaks off and sinks to the bottom of the ocean, the icy, cold fucking ocean. So when you hear this, I just would say, my friend said it so well. You have 2 modes: fight, flight, fuck, freeze, or faint. These are the options of your survival mechanism. And when you feel that elation and that joining, that communion of partnership, especially when you're having sex with each other and you're bonding physically in that way, when it comes to an end, when one person says no, and that person isn't you, when you're not ready for it to come to an end, it creates all sorts of situations where you just want to fix it. And I definitely went through that. So again, what I've been doing to be able to get through this is I have read my own book. It's pretty damn good. Breakup Rehab. And I did get a text from him where he showed me a picture that he had received the book in the mail and couldn't wait to read it. And I was like, that's great. And then I'm in this imposed detox period, this 2-week period of not seeking comfort or reaching out or doing anything, but really having to push deep to the skills inside. But today, my heart is exhausted. I physically froze up. And to that point, my friend Star Bailey, chiropractor, told me, she's like, well, when it comes to the coping mechanism, when it comes to the jarring words of like, you know, I just know I need to take this space for me in this time in my life where I'm not really able to have devotion to a relationship. That's soft. That's sweet. There's something really, okay, you know, I get that. Like, I'm in a place where you've made it really clear for me that I do want partnership and that I want to be with somebody who wants me. That's sweet. That's soft. There's something open, expansive about that. But to the degree that it got pushed, and I will take ownership and however I contributed to hear somebody say, and you're not it. You're not it. But I love you, and you're such a great catch, and you're so amazing, and I've grown so much as a man by being with you. But 3 months' time is not enough. Has been fucking traumatic. It has taken everything I have to just like wake up, keep going, and fight the good fight. Rage against the dying of the light, as Dylan Thomas says, to just keep it going. Just keep it going. Just look at the metaphors. Listen to Muji. Listen to Isha. Listen to Sadhguru. And figure out how to move forward, how to collect the strength. And again, Star told me, she's like, listen, honey, that eventually your adrenals are not going to be able to keep pumping that cortisol into your system. And you're going to go from fight, sympathetic nervous system into parasympathetic nervous system. Rest, relax, shut down, depression. She's like, but the good news is that the healing happens in the parasympathetic nervous system. And today, I felt the cross between one to the other. I had a thought come into my head of he's already moved on. He's probably with somebody else and they're elated and life is great. And I'm just a distant memory. And we have this thought. And it's especially challenging for me because I'm intuitive and I have psychic abilities. And so it's very hard to know what frequency I'm picking up on. Nonetheless, that thought hit me, and it hit me hard today. And then all of a sudden I was rustling around in my oracle cards again, and I was tempted to get on social media, but I'm wise enough to have blocked all social media from him and his roommates just so I could go through the sobriety period and not get little fixes, So that's something else I would say if you're healing a broken heart, or if you're broken open and you don't want to reinvigorate the addiction cycle, then block and delete. Block and delete. His number is in my phone, and I have not blocked that because that is something that I have control over. You don't accidentally just dial somebody, but you can, that's not going to be on purpose. You can stare at their number in your phone all you want, but if you stare at their social media, you're going to collect a lot more information. So it's really important to block that stuff. So today, as I was switching from the sympathetic arousal, fight nervous system into the parasympathetic depression, relax nervous system, I froze. I was like, this is what it must feel like for a junkie to be kicking, because I had this thought that triggered me, and it brought all of this back up to the surface, which in turn made me be like, I want to reach out. I want to reach out. I want to reach out. Why do I reach out? What I want to reach out. So I reached out to a friend. We did an energy clearing, and I was able to come back to center. And time is the only thing in this scenario, and discipline, that will help expedite the healing. It's not a straight road for a lot of people. It's not. In fact, the first initiation of the split, I made it 4 days of just no contact. And then on the 5th day, I woke up and drove over to his house and was like, hey, and I was like, there's got to be a middle way that we can find. But we didn't find the middle way. We found back to the old way that we were doing it, of just being physical with each other and not having the container of commitment and not having articulated our boundaries, but our desires were very, at least my desires were very clear. And that, if anything, is the foundation that I continue to stand on. As Medea would say, Tyler Perry's character, if someone walks out of your life, let them go. Because there's two places you can have peace in your life. That's either in your home or in the grave. She's like, yeah, home or in the grave. And all I know is that we never centered on a place where there was peace. It was dynamic. It was intense. We didn't date like I suggest. What I'm learning is that within the first 3 months of dating a guy, that gives him time to imprint with you, to actually get to know you. You get to know him before you've committed your body and soul and heart, and gives him a chance to treat you like a treasure, not a toy. Because boys will play with toys and they will toss them aside, and a girl's heart is precious, and it's a treasure. It's truly a treasure. And so if you come to somebody who is simply not ready, they will just not be ready. The problems, the theme of which you begin your relationship is something that will most likely be carried out through your relationship. Now, certainly people have the opportunity to change. This is the insidious part of kicking, of going through a breakup. is the hope is always that something will change. They'll change their mind. Your heart will be able to finally see clear enough to be like, oh, they weren't the one for me. And again, that takes time. I can't tell you how, having had been single for 4 years and then coming into something that was just a blip really in my reality, in my existence, like, it's amazing the depth of impact it has. I'm almost awestruck at how fixated you can get on fixing things. So it feels important to tell a couple other stories too, because this is not my first rodeo. This is not my first rodeo, and with any grace of God, it will be my last. It will be my last. Like, let's just pray that on the horizon, if this dating thing happens again, that it's a partnership where there's actual true commitment and a firm foundation of spirit of God is the foundation. Muji says that, we make the mistake of saying woman was made for man and man was made for woman. He's like, no, woman and man were made for God. We're made for God. That's the relationship that's there. But every relationship I've gotten into from 17 on, I'm like, oh, what about this guy? I could feel like, and I could feel more, but you have, basically it's two-bodied worship. It's like this, you're creating this larger container of which spirit can move through, so and exhume and work and need you and need the dough, so that one unique signature that you have on your life, that destiny that is meant to be realized through you, can have more hands, a larger container where it's not just a slower process of one person, but you have more hands. That's you raise a farm and you marry a wife and you have babies and they till the soil, and you have a football team if you're Mormon or whatever, Catholic. You go for it and you just have this large family. Or maybe it's just you and fur babies and you and your spouse and your partner. But and it's not to say, this is, I think, the concept that I struggle with the most is the idea, the notion of, I just know that you're not it. How? I mean, yeah.
I'm jumping in.
Yeah.
So my question is, what is it?
Yeah.
So I'm sitting and go, what's it? I mean, I'm at a place in my life, I'm not looking for the same thing you are. Okay. Mm-hmm. In fact, I'm not even looking. Mm-hmm. And so I don't have any grand vision except for just the moment, in terms of my time spending with people, So, I mean, if I meet somebody and I'm attracted to them and stuff, then yeah, I'd like to spend time with them. But, mm-hmm. but I don't let the racehorses out. I don't project the future. I mean,
yeah.
So the question is, what did he say when he said you're not it? What is it?
Yeah, you're not my life partner. I know you're not my life partner.
So what is your life partner? What does that look like?
John, keep asking these questions because I was not able to.
I know.
Yeah.
Well, of course you're not. It's like you're offended. Essentially. And what I take offense is that you're wonderful. I mean, you're not it, and you're wonderful, and all the rest of it is so confusing. Mm. It's like, stop already. Mm. Because you can't make me feel better after saying you're not it.
Well, and then on top of that, but the person who is it, I'm going to be romantic with, I'm going to go through the thick and thin with. Like, when I know that in my bones I have the deep knowing that that's my life partner, then I'll definitely stick.
So I would challenge you. Mm-hmm. I would challenge the notion that I have a feeling deep in my bones that this is my life partner. Why do you have to? I mean, why is it a life partner? Mm-hmm. Why can't it just be somebody that I want to spend time with? 20 years from now, if you're still together, you can go, oh, okay. We're life partners.
We're okay. We
so
made
far.
it. Yeah, so far.
Yeah, but to put all the pressure and everything in the future about a life partner today, it's to me, it's just too much.
To front load.
It's too much. It's too much expectation for me and for them, and it just gets in the way of experiencing each other intimately. You know.
I was more at the place of like, is this a person I could partner with? Right.
Right.
Are we both seekers? Yes. Do we have we have different visions for creating things that are going to expand people's world? Yes. Do we have, like, we both do the same thing? Do we go play with tarot cards when we're stressed? Yes. Right. Like, and all the peccadillos and everything. And I was just like, I was like, of course you don't want to just be playing go fish with personality traits and say like, well, this is reason enough. You want to have, there's that core, like, I think that you make your life 1% better. And also the Bible says steel sharpening steel. It's not necessarily just this like fluffy place. It's like you're in challenge of each other's some points of view sometime, but and there's going to be ruptures and repairs in relationship. There's going to be disagreements. And, again, one of my favorite people is Jason Gaddis, who had his wife on the podcast, and he comes at things from the perspective of the male who's like, well, let me just fix this. And she's like, I just needed a hug. I didn't need you to like, intellectualize and give me a dissertation. I needed you to just stop and hug me. But there was enough of a rupture there that it created imbalance in her system. And then he felt that tension. But the rupture is not the important part. It's the repair. It's what you do afterwards, that you can go then have those follow-up conversations and continue to suss things out. Here's what I will say, knowing what I do know. And thank you so much for that, because I think that's part of the conversation that it just got teleated at that point. It just came to a stop. Whereas like if DNA were coding right here, it would have to stop coding. There's no more coding that can happen in this structure of the relationship. Certainly a continuation of a push-pull relationship is not sustainable. It's not. So I agree with you that something else needs to happen. And I can be respectful and honoring of the space that one would take to go into the woods, and to be able to go into the depths and mine their own depths and do that in a way that they seem fit for them. But I'll just own, I'm biased. I'm 100% biased that there are a lot of spiritual outlets out there that you can plug into that I've done drumming circles and dancing, and I've done mushrooms and had some of the best times of my life on that stuff. And
great conversations with friends.
And wonderful conversations with friends. Powerful, powerful stuff. Definitely have had all of those things. But I'm still biased to say that talk therapy, actually going and having a container held where you have a secure attachment, talk therapy, helps bring out the areas that we were miscommunicating. I don't think that any partner could traverse until both partners are willing to get a third party involved.
Totally agree. And it's like it was put to me years ago when I was in a relationship and having problems. The therapist basically said, so how long when you and your partner in trouble, how long is it you wait before you seek help? Mm-hmm. And I couldn't answer the question. And he said, the answer to the question is now. Mm-hmm. This is not something you stick in your head and it'll work it out and da-da-da-da. No. We need help now.
And again, I kicked and screamed at the end. I fought for this. I was just like, what? I was like, there's so much. I was like, dude, the seed hasn't even cracked the soil yet. I was like, we've been churning up the clay and the rock in the ground to even have the soil be fertile enough to plant a fucking seed. It's just been like jackhammering at our points of view to find that there was love that was starting to
yeah, you wanted to break through and break free, right?
Yeah. go on, testify. I would say that was definitely part of it. And then the end was really, it was one of those things where I was like, well, this really woke up a deep yearning in me. And he's like, it woke up a deep yearning in for me too. And I'm like, well, I really am clear I want partnership. He's like, yeah, I'm really clear I want partnership too.
So I'm sitting across the room from you going, well, you don't want partnership. You're in partnership. You don't have to want it because you're in it. That's what it looks like. I mean, you were in partnership. Mm-hmm. It's not something in the future. It's like you might want more.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I asked my friend Oni about, he's been married and I've met him at Calvary Temple and he was this like beautiful black man and just really surrendered to God. And he met this girl, Lainey, beautiful white girl, and they got together. And I asked him, I was like, did you know in 3 months that she was going to be your wife? He's like, no, I didn't know that, but I knew I wanted to keep going.
That's it right there. Yeah.
I just knew I wanted to keep going. Right. And then I think there's a point where the momentum builds where you're like, wow, not only could I keep going with this person till the next month, it's like I can really see us building, like our lives are starting to knit together and go that far. Now I understand for some people that is terror. That is the absolute, it's horrific to think about knitting their lives together with somebody else. They can't even fathom that level of commitment.
Yeah, so it's like you and I have talked about it before. The best relationship I ever had was when we both knew it was only going to last 6 months for various reasons. Mm-hmm. And so it put total attention and focus pretty much on it. Mm-hmm. It's like somebody goes, here's a Tesla. You can have it for a week. Mm-hmm. What are you going to do? Park it in the garage and take the bus? I don't think so. Mm-hmm.
No, you're going to really hopefully open and explore the depths. And the thing, again, I want to say about an open heart or a broken heart and as an open heart is that it doesn't take away from my wholeness, right? Like I don't go to bed feeling worse about myself because of the situation. And there's many times where I have been devastated by situations like this. Oh, it's something I did, something I could have done. What did I not see that I could have seen? But ultimately I was like, this is a renewal. Every single day I have to wake up with a renewal of my self-esteem and say, like, today with the energy that I have, let me go forth and do God's work. I'm going to say that again. Today with the energy that I have, the gifts that have been bestowed to me, let me go forth and do God's work. And so while this relationship ended, it will not end me. You know, I will not cower or quit or give up or any of that. It's just that there are moments, as you heard in the beginning of the podcast, where it is just fucking devastating. It's devastating because all you want to do is you just want to talk to that person and be like, hey, for me, I can't speak for everybody. Are you okay? Like, what's happening in your world? And it's insidious because there's a part of me that's like, just get back in my bed. Just let's just do, like, what's the big deal? What is the big deal? Like that has been the lingering thing at the end. Okay, the big deal is you don't see me as your life partner and then you can't feel it in your bones. Interesting point of view. What's the big deal? Right? Is that the root of your decision?
Yeah, no, awesome. No, that's a great way to look at it. Mm-hmm. You don't see me as your life partner. That's fine. How's it going right now, though?
Yeah. How about today? Like, what's the big deal? Do you still want to like hang out, or like what's the deal? What's the big deal we're making of it? And I love what Michael Beckworth said. He's like, it doesn't just happen. It happens because it's just, meaning that there is something here for you. And when it comes to experiencing somebody else, so I will say that my breakup with Dan, who inspired the book Breakup Rehab, helped me really bring that to fruition. That breakup we dated for 8 months. It took me roughly a year, and I moved out of state because of it. It was a catalyst for me to be like, I'm not living in the same state as you. Let me get out of Colorado. Although there were also seeds in it to have me say, like, I think I'm ready to leave Colorado and go to California. I had some psychic predict that a couple years earlier. So, but that was such a catalyst to what we have now in the world is a Breakup Rehab, the global bestseller by New World Library, knock on wood. And so from this experience, I know that what is happening to me is happening for me. So you can hear my rah Rebekah in the room. I want to tell you, I really want to say this as clearly as I possibly can. This hurts like no other hurt. I have lost both my parents and I have mourned their death daily and even found a new normal with my life, where it's like, they're just not coming back. Like the history keepers in my life are now my aunts and uncles, and my cousins. And we are all sharing, we have a collective memory of my parents. This, Dan, who I broke up with, we talked again, and, there's a depth of love and caring that's still alive there, a Dan-shaped place in my heart that will just be only for him. But I've learned to develop and go on. But in this particular moment, as I guess you would say, as a hot iron being seared into the skin, this is branding. There's a brand that happens when you give your body to somebody, when you have sex with them, when there's not the context of commitment and shared directive. And that person, and inevitably it ends. It brands your heart. It sears and it hurts like no other pain on earth.
Yeah, I think you should be a counselor.
To myself. Yeah. And I've tried to, I'm, using the language, partner with yourself. But I just want to say in this moment, the higher and the lower and the middle and all of it is just wishes more than anything that I could just sit across from him in not the place of contention, but that place where we were laughing and dreaming about the future, or just resting in each other's arms in between tasks. That moment of stillness that you just, and comfort that you share. And it's irreplaceable. And I will say that I might go on to date somebody else. He might go on to date somebody else. But the signature of our energy together is a once in a lifetime event. That was a once in a lifetime event. Now, as I end this podcast, I want to say we simply don't know what the future holds. We don't know, but we know who holds the future, which is faith. Faith is the alchemist of pain, and it turns it into wisdom so that you can choose for you and choose differently as you move forward. So certainly, I would say, if anything else, I've been given a lot of material to work with in the podcast and in my upcoming interviews next month for a New World Library. So I want to hear where you're at in your breakups. Like, I want to hear, like, where are you hurting? Where are you struggling? Where are you, like, cheering yourself on? Where do you feel like you're failing miserably? Like, what is going on? Let's collectively come together and heal this broken, wounded heart that's in the world, right? This wave, this pulse that's happening. And there is healing. There is healing in the silence. So I invite you to reach out to me at RebekahFreedom.com. That's REBEKAH freedom.com. And I hope that this touched your heart, and know that healing is on the way, and be set free.